Welcome to BookHuddle. I'm your host, Karen Reader with Readgab. Today we have our guest, Kevin Garone, and he is the author of I Know What UFO Did Last Summer. This is a very fun book, and we're going to get into it in just a minute. But first, we're going to have our author icebreaker. I am wearing my Frog and Toad shirt, and I just love Frog and Toad so much. So before I got on, I got home from teaching fitness, and I was sitting there, and I was like, I could eat my crumble cookie now that my friend brought over. Or I could go and get myself presentable for my interview. And let me tell you how much willpower I have. I ate my cookies. So, Kevin, tell me about you and willpower. Is it food? Is it something else? What is it for you that you have a hard time with, like Frog and Toad?
So if we're going with food, my lack of willpower item would have to be gummy Peachios or peach rings.
Yes.
I can never really control when we have a bag of peach rings.
Uh-huh.
I usually will have the whole thing is going to be gone. If it's in
Before
front of
anybody
me,
else gets any, or hide them so nobody else gets
yeah, I
any.
have I
Just
have to hide them from
ridiculous.
the 4-year-old. But
Yes.
yeah, if they're sitting in front of me, they're going to be gone in one sitting. I
Gummy
have no
Peachios.
self-control with Peachios.
Do you know, I could enjoy one or two Peachios, but I don't think that would be the one for me that I'd just be like, keep eating and eating. So there we have it. That's cool though, that we have our different things that we just love to sit and eat and eat and eat.
Usually with lots of sugar in them.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, my daughter's is like, does it have sugar at all in it? I'm in.
Yep, that's exactly how our 4-year-old son is.
Right?
If there's
Yeah,
sugar, he's gonna want it.
absolutely. So that's why you've got to hide your Peachios. Awesome. All right, Kevin, give us three things about yourself that have nothing to do with being an author.
Sure. So, see, when I was in college, I was in what we described ourselves as a comedy hip hop group.
Nice.
So we did like hip hop and rap, but not very serious music at all.
Cool.
Like I would wear a dinosaur mask on stage sometimes during some of our shows. So that
Awesome.
was a lot of fun. See, I worked 2 summers at a porta potty company.
All your dreams come true right there. Why
So
don't you do it anymore?
that was my summer job during college.
Like dropping them
And
off at places and picking them up or
yeah, like
cleaning them.
usually delivering them. Fortunately, I
Okay.
only had to do cleaning like just a few times.
Nice.
The cleaning was never very fun the few times we
No.
had to do it. So I was definitely always glad to just do deliveries most of the
Right.
time.
Right.
My last thing is probably just kind of boring, but I'm scared of dogs. I was a missionary in Brazil for 2 years, and I had enough dogs either try to bite me or actually bite me
Oh man.
that it's left a lifelong fear of dogs
So
that
it
has
doesn't
never
matter
gone
how
away.
much your kids beg or plead, not getting a dog, no way, no
He's
how, huh?
they're never gonna get a dog.
No. Oh man, that's how I feel about snakes. There's no way that one will ever live in my house. My son has asked me. The answer will always be no.
I had the same thing with my dad as a kid. I wanted to have a snake. My
Oh,
dad was scared of snakes, and he said, "No way."
not gonna happen. See,
Yep.
so I feel there's no shame in being afraid of really anything. We all have our fears. So, if this is dogs, you can be like, well, guess what? I can hold a snake. So it's not like everybody in the general population can do that. So there you go, Kevin. Don't worry about the dogs.
Yeah,
That's fine. All right, Kevin, I'd love for you to give us an elevator pitch of I Know What UFO Did Last Summer.
yeah. So I Know What UFO Did Last Summer is a middle grade sci-fi thriller. It's about a kid named Marv who is absolutely obsessed with aliens. He has what he calls an alien guidebook that he views as the ultimate guide to everything in life, and he's basically memorized it. And so he sees alien conspiracies in pretty much everything that happens. And so when a new girl moves in next door, he immediately assumes that she and her dad are aliens.
Because why
And
wouldn't they
then,
be?
because of course they're going to be aliens, they're just suspicious.
Right.
And then later that same night, they see a mysterious light coming from the woods, and they find what Marv believes is a spaceship in the
Right.
middle of the woods. And Things obviously escalate a bit from there. Marv believes wholeheartedly that this is an alien invasion, that all
Right.
of his training is about to pay off. But is it an alien invasion? It doesn't seem like it actually is, but Marv is definitely dragging his friends into some science fictiony kind of trouble.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. I Marv just will hold a special place in my heart among little literary characters. He was cracking me up like the whole time. Like when I first started reading it, I was like, is this kid for real? No, I think he's for real. He's legit into this alien business. All right. And some people, that's their whole world, right? They're people
Mm-hmm.
that maybe it's fun or funny or lighthearted. And other people are like, no, legit. They're out there.
Yep. And
They're gonna get us.
that is Marv 100%.
Oh my gosh, he's a character and I love it. And he doesn't apologize for it. Like he knows that some people aren't taking him seriously and he's not going to apologize for it. He is who he is. It makes me
Mm-hmm.
think of I see these memes about on Winnie the Pooh and you've got Eeyore, right? And he's always depressed and sad. But they don't tell Eeyore to be different. They bring him on all the wonderful adventures and everything. And so Marv has Jace. This is a very typical teenage boy who's so into basketball and loves basketball. But he also is a good friend to Marv, and he doesn't tell him, hey, this is stupid. Why do you even believe in aliens? He goes on these adventures with him and he enjoys hanging out with him. He finds ways and he sincerely enjoys him and doesn't diminish who he is. So tell us
Mm-hmm.
about creating these characters that they each have their unique traits, but also letting them be themselves and having this variety.
Yeah, it was kind of. I guess Marv obviously was the easiest character to come up with because he's very distinct.
Had to be so
Just
fun to
with
write him,
he
right?
has, yeah, it was. I really enjoyed just writing his kind of worldview
Mhm.
of things, and then also people's reactions to him when they're like, "What is this kid talking about?"
Are you for real?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I when I was in elementary school, I was really into the Animorphs books,
Oh, cool.
and I went through a very like maybe like a week or 2 weeks where I was like started to convince myself that the Animorph books were real,
Right.
that like these were secret messages that the protagonists of the Animorph books were sending out to
I
tell
love it.
people. And so that obviously plays into Marv, but his
Right.
obsession is taken up quite a bit. And then with Jace, I wanted him Marv to have a friend who, you know, isn't really doesn't really buy into all the alien stuff, but they live right by each other, and Jace wants to be a good friend to Marv, even though a lot of the time he would rather be playing basketball.
Right.
And so for Jace to be there to kind of have that counter to Marv in that sense, and also for Marv needing to learn that he needs to be a good friend
Yeah.
sometimes too. Yeah. So, and then with Nora, I wanted to have kind of the more skeptical person who's there with Marv along for the ride. Um, and just also to have her skepticism of everything he says then just plays into his belief that she's secretly an alien. And
Right.
so the more that she tries to go against him, the more he's like, this is probably because you're actually an alien in disguise, or your dad is an alien.
Oh, I just love it so much. Like it cracked me up. Just Marv, I was just like, you're a riot. And then I would feel bad sometimes for thinking that of him because if he was here personally, this is very serious for him, right?
Yeah, he takes himself very seriously, but I also find him very funny.
Yes, isn't he great? It's perfect that he's the main character too. I think I love that because so often it's the supporting character that brings that kind of quirkiness. But
Mm-hmm.
we've got Marv in all of his unique glory that right front and center. And I just love it because we're getting it from his viewpoint that he's just like, yeah, this is legit. And it's just so much fun. Is this Alien Guidebook that he just loves and this is his like law for him? Is that
Mm-hmm.
based on any books you've actually seen out there?
So the idea for the Alien Guidebook came from reading. There's the thing's called the Zombie Survival Guide
Okay.
by Max Brooks.
Uh-huh.
So it's the guy who wrote World War Z.
Uh-huh.
Before that, he wrote this Zombie Survival Guide book,
Okay.
and it's presented as fiction, but it's
Right.
also presented as this is a survival guide for how you would survive during
Okay.
the zombie apocalypse. And the first time I read it, as I was reading it, that's kind of where some of the ideas started to
Right.
come from of like, okay, so what if there was a kid who was reading this and he was like, oh, this everything in this book is legit
Right.
and I need to start preparing now. And so then I kind of went from there to, okay, let's have an alien guidebook with kind of the similar concept of preparing for the alien invasion. How are you going to survive? And just kind of went from there.
Okay, those who are just listening, I'm just like my cheeks hurt because I'm smiling so much. I love this. I get such a kick out of this. I get such a kick out of Marv. I'm like, you're such a riot. He is so much fun. I love that he takes it so serious. And he got this because his brother gave it to him, like just as he needed a gift, or was it a
Yeah,
gag, or it was from a thrift
think it was
store,
a
right?
Christmas present, from what I
Right.
remember. Like
Like
his
a
brother was just looking for a cheap gift and found it at the thrift
with
shop.
very little effort, right?
Exactly.
But then Marv knew it for what it was.
He read it and he really latched onto it.
I love it. It just makes my day. And I think that kids reading it will just be like, I don't know, they'll just enjoy the humor in Marv. You know what I mean? That they'll just
Hmm.
enjoy him as a character. And then they might latch more onto Jace and relating with Jace or Nora, but you can just enjoy so much this uniqueness about Marv. And I love what you're talking about friendship. And I love the quote to be a friend and you'll always have a friend, right? And
Hmm.
so, and they realize this later because Marv, the most important thing for Marv is this alien business, right? But then he realizes that if he wants other people to be there for him, he's got to be there for them and be that kind of friend. And so then some things happen, but I would love to hear in basing this on characters and relationships. Is it based on anybody that you know or yourself? Do you see yourself in any characters or any of your friends and family?
Kind of with Marv, obviously, I mentioned earlier, I had that thing where I briefly
Yes,
believed in the
Animorphs.
Animorph
Yes.
books, and that helped lead into him. I wouldn't say that I had specific people in mind so much for this book,
Right.
um, but that whole friendship angle was something that, as I was writing and revising, that's something that kind of came out more as the story went along beyond what I had originally planned. And it was kind of hard to figure out how to work that in a way that felt, I guess, more natural to me.
Right.
But
Yes, that because it is so important. No kid wants a message like shoved down. Be a good friend. This is important, right?
mhm.
Got to have that evolve very naturally.
Yeah, because I realized as I was going on through just, writing and revising, where, yeah, Marv wasn't always being a great friend, and that there was more opportunities there for that friction to kind of be present and for him to, need to learn that lesson if he wanted to actually fight off his alien invaders.
Yes, he needs teammates.
Hmm.
But I love how natural it happened. That even when we've got this science fiction-y thing going on, and Jace has opportunities to come up with a game plan, and he uses his own basketball skills and his planning and things like that, that he is able to pull from his natural abilities and things like that. But it happens very naturally, like it should in the course of life, because we wouldn't expect anybody to be the perfect character because that wouldn't seem real. Then they would be
Hmm.
an alien or a robot or something. If you were too perfect, there'd be something wrong with you, right? And so we would expect these imperfections in characters.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So tell me about creating the title. Was that something because you've got the little play on words with the and Lois Duncan's famous I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Hmm.
Tell me about that. Was that always there or did that evolve later?
It was not. I had such a hard time coming up with a title. I think I had, I don't know, at least three or four other working titles
Okay.
that I really just didn't like over the course of things. And, at one point I just had it, the name of the Alien Guidebook was the name of the book. But I was like,
Right.
this is way
Oh,
too
okay.
long and convoluted.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then I kind of started looking into like old 1950s B movies,
Okay.
like just the old cheesy sci-fi and horror movies to
Right.
see, looking there for inspiration
Mm-hmm.
for title ideas. And I was still struggling. And I honestly don't remember when exactly I was like, I know what you did last summer. What if I change this to UFOs?
Right.
Since the book takes place in the summer, Marv's obsessed with UFOs. I honestly don't remember exactly when I came across it as a title idea, but as soon as I did, I was like, okay, this is
This
it.
is it.
This
You
is
knew it was the
this
one.
is this is the one that's going to actually work and kind of tell people what to expect from the book
Yes.
and be a fun, kind of hopefully enticing way to get people interested.
So fun. That's awesome. I feel like we all take on different things as readers, but I'd love to hear as you for the author, what is something that was a big takeaway from you for the
Yeah, I guess a few things would be kind of touching on some of the stuff we already talked about, really, like the importance of being a good friend and needing to learn the give and take in those friend relationships that Marv kind of has to figure out somewhat over the course of the story. But also just the value of being yourself and being true to yourself, even when everybody else is telling you that you're wrong.
right.
In Marv's case, he usually is actually wrong.
Right.
But him being true to his convictions in this case is ultimately kind of what helps them, manage to get through this whole adventure that they go on. And so, yeah, the idea of like being true to yourself is also kind of a thing that stood out to me somewhat.
And you can do both those things at the same time, right? You can be a good friend and a good person while also being true to yourself and
Mm-hmm.
letting that shine out and having those friends that will value that in you, that you can still, that they're not going to expect changes of a different person, a different you, that they're going to love Marv for who he is with all of his quirks and be a good friend to him. So I just recently interviewed an author who talked about letters to the past was a big theme. And so it makes me think if you were writing to your teenage self, your anamorph loving self, what is something you would love to tell your teenage self and impart some future knowledge to them?
Yeah, tell my teenage self. I would say, um, kind of like what with Marv, be true to your convictions.
Right?
Be true to the things that you know are true and right, and try to stay positive. Being a teenager is a hard time, or
Yes.
being middle school age too is
Ah,
a very hard time.
kudos to those
And
that love it.
yeah, it's got its ups and downs for sure.
Absolutely.
And I would say just to try to stay positive and focus on the good. Um, yeah, I think
Yeah,
those are the main things I would say
I love the
for.
staying positive. Absolutely. And, finding the joy, like you said, focus on the good and finding the joy. And I feel like Marv gets this little victory in a way. And I don't know. And at the end of the day, I'm trying to figure out how to say this without spoiling things. All right, let me think. There's he gets though this I don't know, this satisfaction that okay, I wasn't right on, but something is up with what is going
Hmm.
on, with what I was looking into. I was kind of right, all right?
Right. He still feels very validated
Yes,
with that all of his alien survival prep has paid off and
because
that thanks to all of that hard work he's put in, that's
he was able to do something useful with
uh-huh.
it,
Yeah.
right? And even still, like you kind of walk away and you're like, all right, Marv. But he did get this like this satisfaction that he was like, hey, it there was something legit going on here, some weird stuff, right? And so that's so fun in the book. Kevin, can you share with us before I keep rambling and giving spoilers? You share with us one of your favorite children's books.
So, see, a book that I really enjoyed recently would be It's Watching by Lindsay Curry. So, she writes a lot of kind of mystery ghost stories. And I've read a lot of them. This one came out just a few months ago, and this one I would say is
Our
actually my
newest.
favorite book of hers that I've
Yeah.
read. Just the kids are trying, they sneak into a graveyard because of a journalism project they want to
Okay.
do. And as a direct result of that, they start getting haunted
Right.
by ghosts that seem to have bad intentions for them and have given them a kind of countdown timer.
Like The Ring,
And
which is why I have not touched
uh
that book
huh,
because The Ring like haunted me in my like oh I was just out of high school I think in college like yeah it messed me up. I'm like sorry Lindsay, you can't even go there because she compares it to The Ring and I'm like
yeah, I know. I saw that, and that instantly drew me in.
oh drew you in.
When I saw
You're
that she
like
had compared it to The Ring, I
yes
was like, okay, I'm all on board for
on board.
this. It's not as scary as The Ring because it's for a
It's
middle
for
grade
middle grade.
audience.
That's good.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it had a good balance of the mystery and then the scary stuff that happens to them. And
Yeah.
I'm always a sucker for middle grade horror stories in general.
It's my happy spot, I've discovered, because I for a long time I was just like, nope, nope, nothing scary. Don't want to be scared. I cannot go there. And it was because of the ring. And
Mhm.
because I used to be able to watch some and I could be scared, like what lies beneath. I'm just going to keep aging myself here. And I remember like watching that, and I was like, I'm okay with that. But so some of it could be supernatural, and then I just never knew when it couldn't. And after The Ring, I was just like, it destroyed me. So for years, I didn't do scary movies or books. Like my husband keeps trying to get me to watch Stranger Things with him, and I'm like, can't do it. Do you watch Stranger Things?
I do. We love Stranger Things
Yeah, and
in
he's
our
like, it's
house.
not that scary. And I'm like, but you never know. What if I got scared? So maybe I will because it seems more doable. So I've been embracing middle grade horror, like Brick, Dust, and Bones by M.R. Cornay, and Lindsay Curry's book. Like, oh, okay, I don't have the tangible copy with me. This one I read as an ebook, but It Found Us. Have you read that one of
Yeah,
Lindsay's?
I did. I've read that one as well.
Creepy, creepy cover, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
oh my gosh, like A
Yeah,
plus
the cover
on
for that
that.
one is super creepy.
Oh my gosh. But it's the perfect, and I've read Scritch Scratch of hers, so maybe I do just need to try and jump on board with It's Watching. Well, hopefully it wouldn't haunt me too much because yes, it's just that perfect amount of spooky, right?
Hmm.
It's made for kids, and some of the books can keep you up, like awake, but not like ruin your
Not horrified for
yes.
years and years.
Right. Yes, because yeah, that's what I need is just a little bit of scary. Oh, perfect. Well, Kevin, do you have any plans to keep going with what I Know What UFO did last summer? Will there be a sequel, or can you share with us what you're working on for a next book?
Yeah, so book two is planned actually to come out in September. So
That's so
there's
fun because
a
it does leave it with this like it could be one of those books that kind of just like, oh, and then, something to think
right.
about.
There's a little hint that there could be more at the
But
very end of this book.
it has like a way that it could be complete. So
Right.
that's exciting that you are going
Yeah.
forward with that.
So yeah, I've got the second book is planned for September for Marv.
Oh, excellent.
Um, and then I have a pretty big backlog of books of just all these
Right.
books that I've worked on and stuff over the years, and so I've got several more standalone, leaning more into horror,
Oh, fun. So
middle
you
grade horror
have
type
been writing
books
that kind of
too.
stuff too. Awesome.
That those will come out at some point, but obviously
So fun.
Marv's next adventure is going to be the next thing.
The next thing up. All right. Well, so cool. Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for joining us today. We will look forward to more adventures with Marv and hopefully some middle grade horror coming up from you as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
I hope that you enjoyed hearing about I Know What UFO Did Last Summer. If you enjoy my podcast, BookHuddle, I would love for you to take a minute and rate and review it on your podcast platform. That will help more people find BookHuddle. Now go and have a fantastic week reading some amazing books.